This could be bullshit, but he, according to a guy that hit me up, Phil Viz told him that he has to, after he takes the insulin shot, he has to start his first set exactly 37 minutes after the shot.
So we have some more. Let's critique some cycles, and then we'll do one blood work one, and then we'll go back to the questions. So let's start here.
These are going to be interesting.
Yeah, last time we got more here. So this is Gucci Daddy. He says he's taking 125 milligrams of Sustanon every other day, Proviron twice daily, 10 to 20 milligrams of D-ball pre-workout, and 0.5 milligrams of Arimidex every 3 days. He's looking for a cycle that keeps his libido and dick tanked. Any suggestions would be greatly appreciated. What do you guys think? I have some ideas.
It's not terrible, but I mean, okay, so 125 tests every other day. That's like what, close to 400 mgs of test a week. That's Proviron. He doesn't even tell us how much he's taking. Let's just guess 25 mgs twice a day.
Yeah, that's more.
And D-ball pre-workout. It's a baby cycle, but if it's his first cycle, yeah, I think it's good. Like if it's a first cycle, I wouldn't be. Well, you know me, I like my first cycle to be just 500 mgs a test. But
what do you
I
think
mean,
of Sustanon?
What do you think, Scott?
I don't really have any experience with it, honestly. I can't really say much about it.
What you never tried D-ball?
Oh, D-ball? Yeah, like way back in the day. I really don't. I'm not a big oral guy. Like I know people like to do their Kickstarters, but I'm not a fan, honestly, myself. I mean, I feel like you don't
run like oral Winstrol and prep.
No, I'll run Winstrol. Yeah, D-ball. Okay. No, I mean I'm talking about like your Kickstarters.
Okay.
He's doing it pre-workout, not just like a.
No. I mean it's fun. I mean pre-workout you feel big and strong, but I after like my first off-season cycle, I never touched it.
What do you think of the Sustanon, Boston? Is that your preferred testosterone? Do you like Sustanon?
If you're shooting it every other day, yeah. So I like to switch esters every like 8 to 10 weeks, regardless, even if it's test. So I have my clients do Sustanon every other day or 3 times a week for 8 weeks, and then I'll have them do test sip, and I'll switch it up.
Okay, here's my ideas. First of all, I don't like Sustanon because it's a bunch of different esters. It prevents you from being able to switch things up because you're already used to all the different esters, in my opinion. Plus, I just hated Sustanon personally, but that's just an opinion, right? Proviron, though, there is academic evidence as well as personal evidence that if you use it for a couple of weeks straight, the effects subside. There's tachyphylaxis. If you want to use Proviron for your libido, use it maximum 3-4 days a week. Otherwise, you'll adapt to it. It does have some effects on libido or whatever the hell it's called, but they're not that dramatic. Like I think that they're probably via the psychological effects of the increased testosterone uptake, maybe to the brain or something like that. Personally, I don't like D-ball as a pre-workout as much as Anadrol. I think using an oral pre-workout is mainly useful to get yourself stronger so you can lift more in the gym. And if so, most people, I would say 90% respond better to Anadrol. But some people like D-ball. I agree. And then for the
I wish these guys, Leo, next time, make sure they list their goals. Because, I mean, this guy says, just to keep this libido and dick tanked. I mean, what the fuck?
So if you want your libido to be maximized, what you would do is take a replacement dose of HCG, because there's a difference between having testosterone in your body versus locally around your dick. It's way more powerful when you have it produced locally around your gonads and your penis. So if you take HCG and FSH, 75 units of FSH, 2,500 units of HCG, you'll get way more sexually than you will out of this 125 testosterone, honestly. And then, to be honest with you, if you want to have insane sex drive, you could take more test on top of it, and then you could take Proviron on the days that you need it. And about the Arimidex, all I would do is do blood work and keep your, for your libido issues, keep your estradiol below 40, between like 15 and 40. That's all you have to do, I think. Let's move on to another one. So this guy doesn't tell us anything about his goals. Sorry about that, Boston. All he says is 600 test, 600 EQ, 300 NPP. And he says, should I go higher on doses or keep it? So the reason why I included this one, I just wanted to say, like, you don't go higher on doses unless you're not getting results, in my opinion. You can always take more of a drug, any drug.
I'd actually lower the EQ to 400.
Right? Yeah, the EQ
I would lower the EQ to 400 on this.
I also don't like EQ personally. I prefer Primo, injectable Primo. But I know Boston doesn't. Boston never gets side effects.
They both raise the red blood cell count. They both work.
Primo does a lot also. You notice that, Boston?
Yeah, no, Primo for me, but I have to run higher dosages of Primo. For instance, I would say, if you're going to 600 mgs of EQ I would run like 800 mgs of Primo. It's not milligram per milligram. You're going to get a little bit strength gains on EQ more compared to Primo, but Primo is a lot cleaner and a lot less side effects, in my opinion.
Same, I agree. And the 300 NPP, I think, is... Wait, NPP? A week? Oh, okay. Well, anyway. I think that's great for joints and things like that.
I like combining EQ and NPP. So I think this is a good cycle. I would just lower the EQ to 400.
And AW Fitness Lover, I have gained a little bit of muscle, but quite a bit of strength since I went back. Although I have the finger problem.
You know what's the worst thing about that cycle, Leo?
What?
Is he didn't list his anti-estrogen.
Yeah, I didn't mention it. Okay, guys, you need to be more comprehensive.
That would be horrible. Then that cycle would go to shit.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, so this guy says, what would be a good third cycle if someone were wanting to put on a significant amount of size but maintaining fertility? I thought Boston would have an interesting idea on this. So he's using first two blasts were 350 test E per week, and the second one was 525 test E per week. He's been cruising on 180 tests since. And he said he cannot get real Primo or Anavar. Yes, you can. That's not true.
Yeah, you can get that shit right on the forum.
Yeah, I know. That's. I just want to mention that. And he says he aromatizes a lot and has not had gyno surgery. What would you do as a third one? This guy's done 350, 525, and he wants to maintain fertility.
Well, maintaining fertility is ridiculous because I don't have my clients change a thing when they get their chicks pregnant right away when they add in the fertility. So if he's worried about fertility, as long as he's running the right fertility drugs, he doesn't have to worry, in my opinion. But a safe cycle after that on your third cycle would be to add something in. Keep the test the same and add in like 400 EQ or 400 Primo.
Exactly. Great point. All you have to do is keep your HCG and FSH in, and the testosterone and or EQ or Primo won't have such a negative feedback to your brain, to your hypothalamus. So the worst thing you could do if you were going to add another drug would be to add NPP or DECA or Trenbolone. Those might have the biggest impact.
I would say those drugs are probably the harshest on your fertility. But saying that, I've had so many clients that have been on 400 mgs of Tren, 600 Tren that have gotten their... Now, I will tell you, I haven't designed a fertility protocol with any DECA or NPP in it. But I have had some clients stay on Tren, and it happened.
Yeah, I'm sure it would still work, but just like to be careful. I mean, because he's asking that. And about the aromatization, all you have to do is keep your estradiol between 15 and 40, and you're not going to get gland growth. You can just do a blood test, 1 week in, 2 weeks in, something like that. Of course, this is not medical advice. I'm just mentioning that. Okay. Mass hole muscle. That's a crazy name. This guy says...
Cycle. Oh, my God.
So he's taking...
What the fuck? 175 inject D-ball?
I don't think that's daily, is it?
That better be weekly.
Yeah, I think that's weekly. Okay, so he's doing a Boston generic GH type of thing. He likes the generic. And he's taking Prami at night. So do you guys have any thoughts on this? I have some thoughts.
You know what this reminds me of?
Yourself?
Dude, he's going to fucking get so mad that I'm going to say this. Fucking Phil Viz in number 7. That motherfucker loves 7 units of insulin, 7 units of growth hormone. I guarantee you this is a Phil Viz cycle.
You know why, Boston? 7 is the number that people love to use when they want to guess a number. So if you look at the Quran, for example, there's 7 heavens. It comes from Judaism. There's 7 a lot of things. When people like to make up stuff, I'm not saying that's made up, but when people make up numbers, they pick 7 because it sounds like there's a lot of research on that. Anyway, so
this could be bullshit, but he, according to a guy that hit me up, Phil Viz told him that he has to, after he takes the insulin shot, he has to start his first set exactly 37 minutes after the shot.
Well,
I'm not kidding you, dude.
Phil's our buddy, but he's a little neurotic for sure.
Yeah.
He knows that. He's pretty neurotic. Okay, so
I like the cycle besides the keeping the test and the EQ the same. I would bring the EQ down to 800.
what about you, Scott? Do you have any thoughts on this?
I mean, honestly, like these cycles are like way above like what I would personally ever do. So for me, like looking at this, like I wonder like what is this guy doing? You know, like is he a bodybuilder? Is he open bodybuilder? You know,
we need more
like
info.
yeah, because like I said, I mean, I'm like so mild compared to like some of these cycles that I see in these guys, and I just can't personally. I mean,
I know.
fathom. You know,
You wouldn't run this cycle and bring down the EQ to 800. It would be way too much for you.
EQ, I wouldn't. I mean, personally, I've never ran it that high. So no. I mean, maybe, but
maybe
I mean, I never have.
Bodybuilding. Maybe you turn into a bodybuilder if you took a cycle like this.
Honestly, you know what? That's probably what's holding me back. I probably would.
So let's
You should try it for 6 weeks.
Let's mention something to the audience. So people have different metabolic profiles. Your metabolism isn't just how fat you are, but also how quickly you metabolize drugs. So maybe Scott, for example, is a slow metabolizer. So if he injects a gram of EQ a week, he has more in his bloodstream than other people who are fast metabolizers. Like I'm a fast metabolizer of drugs. So if I take any drug, almost any drug, honestly, I metabolize them very fast. Like the drug will be out of my system faster. If I do cocaine, it'll leave me faster than somebody else. Not just cocaine, almost any drug, like including steroids. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And usually faster metabolizers have less side effects, you know, less residence time in the body and so on. And you can find out if you're a fast metabolizer by going on 23andMe and then going through your CYP enzyme polymorphisms and other polymorphisms. But I wanted to mention a couple of things that struck out to me. Number one, this is a harsh cycle. So just keep that in mind. You may be doing some damage to your body. You have trenbolone there and injectable dianabol. So you have some things that are known to be, I don't know if dianabol is highly androgenic, but trenbolone is definitely.
Injectable D-bol is really androgenic.
And then the other thing is that you're taking 7 units of GH every day. So I've recently came across some research that shows that you may get less insulin resistance if you inject that GH every other day. And I was thinking about this, talking to my client the other day, and I was thinking it may be better to use more than one kind of GH. So for example, if you inject GH every other day and then use nortotropin one day, and then another 2 days later use genotropin, and then 2 days later use Serostim or something like that, you may develop less antibodies to the GH and get more out of less. Potentially. Another thing I wanted to mention is pramipexole is a dopamine receptor agonist. You don't want to take that at night. You're supposed to have high dopamine levels in the morning, not at night. And also, before taking Prami, you could consider doing something else that's dopaminergic, like using something lighter, using your own dopamine system, like Wellbutrin or amphetamines or something else, because Prami is a sledgehammer that is going straight to the dopamine receptors and causing them to downregulate. Now, you're taking that because you're expecting to have progesterone signaling and get higher prolactin. If you keep your estradiol between 20 and 40, you're going to get the least amount of prolactin that you can. You can't control the progesterone signaling because you have trenin there, but you can there's a couple of ways to lower prolactin. One is to lower progesterone and estradiol, and the other one is to raise dopamine signaling. You're using a sledgehammer approach with pramipexole and not, I guess, doing blood work to see how higher estradiol is. So that's a couple of thoughts, I think.
Leo, it's funny you mentioned that about the growth hormone. I did that once and I actually responded well. It could have been the drugs I was on too. But What I did was I tested 4 different growth hormones that tested very good, just as good as pharma. I put them in my fridge. You know, I had the different generics there. And one day, one dose, it wasn't every day, but it would be 1 dose in the morning. I would use this brand. Pre-workout, use this brand. Before bed, use this brand. And I responded well.
I was just thinking that. I bet if more people tried that out, they'd respond well. It makes sense, right?
Yeah, I think so. You remember Dorian Yates came out and said he used 14 IUs of growth hormone only on his training days. And he only trained 4 days a week.
Oh, fascinating. This is an interesting discussion. Okay, we need to clip this one so more people can think about using this. As a harm reduction protocol also, you probably need to use less if you're using it, and you probably get less insulin resistance if it's not daily. So this is the last one we'll review. It's the guy in China. He said, here's the cycle I was recommended by a local Chinese coach and judge of Chinese Bodybuilding Federation. So this sounded interesting to me. I'm curious what the Chinese are doing. He said there's too much for him, but he might do 50% of the milligrams. So test is 1.2 grams a week. DECA is 900 milligrams a week. GH is 5 to 10 units a day. Humalog 8 to 12 units pre and post workout. Pre also, interesting. D-bol or Anadrol 50 or 100 milligrams a day. Pre-workout if it's D-bol, spread through the day if it's Anadrol. I notice a lot of people do that. This is Chad Nichols cut type of thing, right? 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off. And then 1 milligram of Arimidex a day, 0.5 milligrams of Caber twice a week. So definitely, instead of Caber, pramipexole. Caber associated with heart fibrosis at higher doses than this, but still, there's no reason to use it unless you have a bad metabolism of Caber. And if you don't like pramipexole, you can use another non-ergot-derived dopamine receptor agonist. And then the contest cycle says, same as the off-season, he adds in Clen and T3 working up to 120 micrograms of Clen and 50 micrograms of T3.
T3.
And continue Clen and T3 until show day. What is this 8 weeks out? Okay, we're just gonna stick with this. So what do you guys think?
He's saying 8 weeks out. He drops the test to test probe and uses Prinate. So that's what he uses. So I like that pre-contest cycle.
What do you think of this one? Do you think this is overkill?
I like that cycle a lot. If you would bring the DECA down to 600.
Interesting.
I think so too.
I don't think DECA after 500 mgs is gonna 500 600 mgs of DECA. I don't think there's gonna be any more benefits. I really don't.
You're right. I've tried that many times. It doesn't really get that much. Going to a gram is not that helpful from 600.
No, hell no.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, this was cool. This was fun, huh?
I talked to JP Fucks, and he's honest as it comes, man. He'll be like, "Yeah, I used 100 to 150 units of insulin every day." He's super honest. But when it comes to DECA and test, he ran a gram of pharmaceutical test, and he ran like 500 DECA and like a lot of growth hormone.
Wait, we didn't comment on one thing. What's this pre-workout insulin? Oh, wait, there was another guy. We'll review him next time. But what's this pre-workout? Why pre-workout insulin? Why pre?
A lot of people are doing pre now, and I will put it pre sometimes to prioritize a weak body part. Like
I take it. I do too.
You do too?
I do too. Yeah.
Do you get hypoglycemic in the gym?
No.
Or you're drinking? You're drinking. Are you drinking like a Gatorade?
Yeah, I'll drink like an intra workout. I'll get like 50 grams of carbs in intra workout, but I'm only doing like maybe 4 or 5 IUs.
Interesting. Okay. And
I've seen it work very good on weak body parts, Leo.
Interesting. Okay, I have no idea what I'm talking about here.
But I'll tell you what. You know how Milos likes to do 25 units, like Mike Wills was saying. Remember, he does 25 pre and post.
That sounds like overkill. It sounds like it'd be hard to train.